All right. We're on step 10 and 11 today. Step 10 and 11 as we walk through the 12 steps using the Celebrate Recovery model. Making sure it's right. All right. Step 10 says continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out, right? Yes, sir. And I just want to spend a little time talking about the road to relapse. The road to relapse. And we have identified 4 things that are detrimental as we walk through our recovery. The first one is complacency. Complacency. And in the NA text, it talks about that they say one of the enemies of long-term recovery is apathy and procrastination. And that's really what complacency is. When I just started to become apathetic about this process of recovery, and I don't stay focused, and my priorities get off, and I start to think that this thing is just going to happen. I have found out that every time people come back and I say, what happened? And they say, I stopped going to meetings, I stopped reading, I stopped praying. They just became complacent. So the first one is complacency. Number 2, confusion. 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 Where we just become confused. And not confused like we don't know. Confused as it relates to, do I still have to do this stuff and for how long? Because the program of recovery is educational, so we are taught what to do. The Bible says that my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And that's not why addicts fall off. They don't fall off because they're ignorant to the process. They fall off by being confused whether or not they have to continue. Let me use myself as an example. I have 25 years clean. And my disease tells me that I no longer have to work the program anymore. People in church tell me, Obie, you delivered, so you don't have to do none of that no more. So if I'm not careful, I will become confused by how long I've been clean and what people tell me. You've been set free. You don't have to worry about that no more. I'm not confused because I believe once an addict, always an addict. But I have a different definition than a lot of people of what that exactly means. To me, being an addict only means that I can't drink and I can't use successfully. It don't mean that I can't perform all of the tasks that I need to. I can hold a job, I can be a husband, I can be a father, I can be an employee, I can do all of those things. I just can't become confused about whether or not I can use recreationally. That's the problem. Number 3, compromise. Compromise. We start to compromise what we truly value. And in step 4, we talked about this this week. It says we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And we said that our morals were our values and our belief system. Right? And so what happens is we start to compromise what we say we believe. And one thing about recovering people, we have to be principled people. And that's something that we're not used to, but we have to become principled people. What I say I believe, I gotta believe. And I don't compromise that. I don't go places that's not safe for me to go. I don't do things that's not safe for me to do. I don't compromise. I don't compromise. And a lot of times the reason we keep falling off is we compromise. We say, oh, okay, I guess I can go to the bar. Okay, I probably shouldn't go to the old neighborhood, but I'll go anyway. That's me compromising what I say I believe. That makes sense? Fourth one, catastrophe. That's what happens when I don't do all of the rest of it. I call that all hell breaking loose. A catastrophe. That happens. And sometimes those are just life situations. We had a brother that was struggling because one of his friends died. Death can be a catastrophe, right? According to who it is. But guess what? We got to stay clean. Because God set this life up where everybody coming to the world dying. And I always tell people this when they come in. I say write down all of the worst things that can happen in your life that will make it difficult for you to stay clean. And you know what? Then I tell them all of those things are going to happen. And you're going to have to stay clean anyway. People always say, if something happens to my mother, something happens to my father, something happens to one of my children. Well, guess what, y'all? All of those are going to happen. Something going to happen to your mother. I don't know what, but something going to happen to her. Something is going to happen to your children. But guess what? In recovery, we have to make up our minds that we're going to stay clean no matter what. No matter what. No wife, no mother, no job, I'm not going to use. And so if I leave it to where if these things happen, that gives me an out to use, then I'm going to use. That makes sense? I know that's hard, but catastrophes is going to happen. What we categorize as catastrophes, they going to happen. Somebody close to you going to fall off. We've had a few of those in the last couple of weeks. Well, that's going to happen. This is a selfish program. And it says this, and I thought this was so harsh, so unloving, and not even Christian-like. Because the director, Reverend Shelley, when I came in, used to say, Obie, it's better them than you. I said, he's not a Christian. But when I got a little sobriety, now if somebody going, I love y'all, I love all y'all. And family members, I love y'all, family member that's here. But if somebody got to fall off, it's better them than me. And guess what? Your loved one has to say that too. Because when somebody close to them relapses, they can't allow that to take them out. Sometimes your sponsor relapse. And so, oh, I can't make it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just have to repeat that thing. It's better them than me. It's a selfish program. That don't mean your money and your time and all that kind of stuff unless it relates to recovery. Let me give you another one. When we get clean, we have left a whole lot of things undone, and we have neglected a whole bunch of responsibilities and a whole bunch of people. Got it? Sir. But when you first come out, you got to be selfish with your time and your emotions, and it's still all about you. That's when you will come into a conflict with the people who have supported you, because they think that once you get clean, now you can spend all of this time with them. And sometimes when you get out, especially in the beginning, you are more busy than you were in treatment, because now you're trying to do your 90-90. Now you're meeting with your sponsor. And so you are just as selfish and unavailable as you were at first. And family members struggle with that one. Staying clean, especially the first year, takes a whole bunch of work and takes up a whole bunch of time. So, what can cause relapse? What can cause relapse? Now that we looked at the road to relapse, number one, reverting to to willpower. Reverting to willpower. Galatians 3:3 says, how can you be so foolish? You began by God's Spirit. Do you now want to finish by your own power? And willpower gets us every time. That just means doing it on my own, doing it my way, becoming selfish and self-centered. In the big book by Alcoholics Anonymous, from page 60 to 63, it uses the word self about 13 times. Self-will, one ride, driven by self-proportion, self-delusion, and it goes on and on and on. And all of those are about willpower. Next one, ignoring one of the steps. Ignoring one of the steps. You were all doing so well. Who made you stop obeying the truth? And it's not just talking about you all only skipping one of the steps, like going from step 1 to step 3 and you skipping step 2. It's talking about that preliminarily, but that's not in totality, because skipping one of the steps may be in the early stages is doing the 90 and 90, or working the steps, or calling your sponsor. See, there are some things that we're supposed to do every day. And what the addict does, especially new in recovery, we try to negotiate what parts of the program we're going to work. We like the buffet style of recovery. I want a little bit of that. I want a little bit of that. No, I don't want that. And then the sick person that has gotten me into all of this mess is the one that chooses what part of the program I need to work. And the sick person is me, or your loved one, or the addict. You see what I'm saying? So I don't need to be the one making the decision on what part of the program I'm going to work and what part I'm not. Because guess what? The only parts that I'm going to work is the parts that's convenient to me. You know, I ain't going to do the 90-90 part. That means going to 90 meetings in 90 days. One a day. At minimum. Well, that's inconvenient. So you know what I'm saying? I ain't going to do that. And a lot of the things that we do in recovery, y'all, it's no magic pill. Recovery is about discipline, and it's about me and a repeated behavior. One of the promises in the big book says, I will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle me. You know why? Because I just repeat those habits. And then after a while, they become automatic. Old timers say, I stopped working the program, and the program started working me. Because I started to intuitively do things because I just repeated that behavior. That's why they say call your sponsor every day. Ain't no magic pill in calling your sponsor every day. It's I get in the habit of picking the phone up and calling somebody. So if I call them when ain't nothing going on, it'll just be natural for me to call them. See, a lot of things stop us in our hurry on because we think our way into getting high. You know, well, I ain't got nothing to talk to my sponsor about, so I ain't gonna call him. No, I need to pick the phone up. Sometimes I call the people in my support system and a conversation jump off, and sometimes I call them and I say, what you doing? Nothing. What you doing? Nothing. All right, bye. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes I call and then they can hear in my voice or them, or I have something specific to talk about. But what I need to do is learn how to call whether something is going on or not. Because if I don't build that relationship when something is going on with me, then I won't talk. Addicts are funny people. On one hand, we won't tell you nothing, and then on the other hand, we'll talk you to death. We're moody people. I don't know if y'all ever dealt with one of them, but we're moody people. And we lie. What's going on with you? Nothing. You all right? Yeah. And I know there'll be something going on. That's why I gotta have a support system that knows me, that I build a relationship where they can press through. And a lot of times family members, y'all can't do that because we take personal what y'all say. And y'all care about our feelings. And we care about y'all feelings. And so that breaks down the honesty, where the support group member don't really care. We don't even consider each other's feelings. Our role is to help each other stay clean and help each other say they lie. We don't care about how somebody feels. And so we just go on, but you can't, as a family member, it's the opposite. It's a relationship that's based on feelings and all of that. It's not about well-being. You know, I have to consider my children's feelings when I'm talking to them and kind of say, okay, well, how can I say this? Is this the right time to say this? Because I don't want to hurt their feelings. But my support group, they don't care. They just straight out ask me, you high? I tease the guys and the ladies around here all the time because I try to ask 2 or 3 of them every day, you high? And that's so offensive for somebody who's only been clean for a month. And, no. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you've been getting clean. You've been getting high for 20 years. I don't know why you're offended because somebody asked you with 30 days clean. But if I was considering their feelings, I wouldn't ask them that. But I don't care. I'm here to say they like, not their feelings. Got it? Got it. Trying to recover without support. Trying to recover without support. That means just trying to do this by myself, y'all. Let me read the scripture. Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 10. 2 are better off than one, because if one falls down, the other can help him up. But if someone is alone and falls, it's just too bad, because there is no one to help him. And that's the way this thing go, y'all. We didn't get to the chronic stage of our addiction by ourselves, and we're not going to be able to stay clean by ourselves. This is a relational thing. And an addict alone is in bad company. Never forget that. An addict alone is in bad company, because they're alone with the person that has destroyed their lives and destroyed their family lives. And you don't want to be alone with that person, right? Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, brother, you don't want to be alone. No. So when we somewhere by ourselves, we need to say, whoa, I'm with the wrong person. I need somebody else. And I need to get in. And they say that my disease, on page 23 of the big book, centers in my mind rather than my body. And what that really means is my disease is in my thinking. My thinking is what gets me in trouble. And so that's why I got to learn how to run my thoughts by somebody. Because that's what gets me in trouble, is my thinking. And I go to thinking. And I tell the people all the time, there is only a couple kind of people. There are some of us who can come up with a real good plan. We just can't carry it out. That's how we fool people that's not in the fellowship in our family, because we say, this is what I'm going to do. And we say all this good stuff, and y'all say, that sounds good. You're going to make it this time, because the plan is good. The problem is the person that's carrying the plan out ain't no good. Then some people can't conceptualize a good plan. They may be able to carry it out. They're a little confused. And so they need some help. So either way, we need support. I'm the first one. I can come up with a good plan. I just can't carry it out. And I always have. And so I had to let people know that was in my support system, you can't just go by the words that come out of my mouth. Because I'm going to come up with a plan that you going to like. And it's going to be good. I just can't carry it out. So I need you to walk with me and hold me accountable to the plan. Because the plan going to sound good. The problem is, I ain't going to follow it by myself. I need support to get done what I said I'm going to do. Now, next one, becoming prideful. The Bible says pride comes before destruction, right? And it's amazing for those of us in recovery. On one hand, we suffer from low self-esteem and low self-worth, but we're arrogant and prideful and don't want to accept help and don't want to ask help. So y'all don't know how to help us sometimes. Our ego get in the way. Let me do it. I don't need no help. But you know we can't do it. And you got to kind of be crafty, I guess, on how to help us. Because, you know, if I help you, I'm gonna hurt your feelings. But if I don't help you, you're going to feel alone. So family members sometimes and loved ones and support group members don't know what to do. Sometimes. Pride. Let me hear it. Next one. That's step 10. This is step 11. Number 1, examination. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 says, check up on yourself. Lamentations 3 and 40 says, let us examine and let us repent. What to examine? What to examine? First thing, I need to examine myself physically. Then emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. Let me go back over there. Physically, that's why we have the Parkland Healthcare van that comes on Tuesdays. We go to Metro Care for a psychological evaluation on Fridays. We need to check ourselves physically because a lot of times we don't know how much damage we have done to ourselves just physically when we come in here. And so we need to check out. We don't want to get clean to die. We want to get clean and be healthy. Next one is emotionally. We need to examine ourselves emotionally. We come in here and we are an emotional wreck because of all of the highs and the lows that we have went through. And so emotionally, we're not necessarily stable. And you all, I have seen it. I've been doing this and been in the therapeutic community for 27 years. And I've never seen it so bad where almost everybody is on some type of medication. Almost everybody comes in, they'll do a diagnosis. They have a chemical dependency problem and they have some type of other diagnosis. Depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, whatever the case may be. And so those things mess with us emotionally. Now, it's one thing, everybody that comes into treatment is depressed, but that's called temporary and situational depression. Typically, about 2 weeks to 30 days when your situation changes, you kind of come back to yourself, you know. But that's why we stop sending everybody the first 2 or 3 days to go get a psychological evaluation because they all came back depressed. Well, if I'm homeless and I done stole my mama TV and I done ran off, yeah, I'm depressed. Because my situation is depressing. So that's why we started to wait about 3 weeks unless people were already on some type of meds. We examine ourselves relationally. Relationally. We struggle with having relationships. And we just don't know how to coexist and get along with others. And so we got to learn. You know, and I'm not talking about in a dating situation. We struggle getting along with anybody, whether it's our parents, whether it's our siblings, our spouse, our children. And then when they go to dating, that's why they say if you're in a relationship, when you come into the therapeutic community, you stay in it. That don't mean you go and try to reconcile that relationship. It just means that you kind of let that go dormant if y'all are strangers. But if you're not in a relationship, don't get in one for a year, because emotionally, you are just not ready to deal with the emotions that come with relationship, because you're struggling to manage your own emotions. You can't handle somebody else's. Let me use this example. Have y'all ever known somebody that was draining for you emotionally? You know, that person was draining, and you see them coming, and you be saying, oh Lord, not today. You know, you see their name come up on the call ID on your phone, and you be like, you know what, emotionally, I can't handle this person today. I had a couple people like that. I got some brothers that is always something going on in their life. How you doing, man? I'm doing too good, man. This and that. Like, you know what, man? Emotionally today, I can't do you. Because when I leave you, I'm depressed. And I don't even take pills, and I need one after talking to you. Because they're just so sad. Y'all know the people? You gotta get yourself together and talk to them, because they take you out. If you're not a drinker, you're a drink. So, be careful with who we get in relationships with, not just dating. You know, family members, sometimes that's why y'all gotta allow us to go out there and go through what we go through. You gotta be saying, you know what, they typically don't die, so I ain't finna deal with that today. You know, we call you on a Friday, you be like, you know what, I'll call them back on Monday, because I'm finna enjoy my weekend, because if I call them back right now, I ain't gonna be able to enjoy my weekend. You probably done that before, right, Dad? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? He's a sweet guy, but sometimes take you out.
Sometimes just so.
Really? Spiritually. We have to examine ourselves spiritually. Step 11 says God as we understood him. And you all, when they put and start calling it our high power back in the late 30s, that was because they didn't want it to be a conflict. But Alcoholics Anonymous was started in a church. And it was, and the first thing that they done, before they had steps, before they had the big book, in any of that, they used the book of James. They used 1 Corinthians chapter 13. But it turned some people off. And so that's why in step 3 and in step 11, they put as you understood him. So that they wouldn't offend the atheists and the agnostics and the other people that believe differently. And so you got to examine yourself spiritually. How do you understand your God or your higher power? What is your relationship spiritually? And be careful. There's a lot of doctrine out there, and there's a lot of different things out there. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, we don't get into a debate. We had this brother that came into the program probably around 93, 94. And he said that he was an atheist. That's what he said. And so he knew he came to this program, and he knew this program was at a church. So he used to do things just to try to rattle us. So he had a rock that he would set on the table, and he would pray to that rock. I'm going to say this word just to try to piss us off, really. And so the director at the time, which is our pastor now, said, you know what, leave him alone. leave him alone, let him do that. You know, because some people was offended because, you know, come on now, brother. You, in the name of this rock, I pray. At the church. So we was roofing a house, and the house was about right here where we stand. We done tore it down, and we built this nice building. And the guy was doing the roofing. And he slipped and fell. And somewhere between the roof and the ground, that brother got saved.